Vinyl Gang, are you ready for a showdown?
A top 5 ranked showdown. Like we said, the marketing department still
Is still working
Still
on the
working.
exact title.
we call these ranked, and we like to take 5 of something and put them in an order to stir up discussion and controversy. And it's always fun to rank things. And we've done Led Zeppelin, we've done Rolling Stones, and we've done all of the short ranks that are out there. So what are we doing today, Wheels?
Today, we're doing post-punk.
Okay, so tell us what post-punk is.
Well, post-punk,
It's defined many different ways.
many different ways, because stylistic, it can be experimental rock, krautrock, dub, funk, electronic, disco,
Dance. I mean,
free jazz, glam rock. The list goes on and on and
right.
on.
So the umbrella is big.
The umbrella is big and it's very muddy.
Right. And we did our top 5 punk bands, and we got a little conversation going there.
Yeah.
And there were some discussion about whether or not a couple of those bands that we did in that were actually post-punk, which we don't think, but thank you for the thought. And we wanted to do post-punk because this is right in this guy's wheelhouse.
Yeah. And it really kind of started in 77 in the UK. And I mean, the classic period was really 77 to 79. But then from 79 to the early 80s, maybe 84. That's really the period.
Pretty short window.
Yeah, a pretty short window. And I mean, really, if you talk about that first window, there weren't a lot of releases.
Right.
They were all coming out a little bit later.
Right.
I mean, 80 was a kind of a big year for post-punk.
Okay. Well, I will grab the Vinyl Ventures record, and we will go to our number 5 post-punk band.
And we're going to start with Killing Joke.
Oh, these guys.
There's a song called 80s.
Oh, okay.
And it's a Killing Joke song that I think if you heard it, you would know it.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw them open for Tool about 3 years ago in North Carolina. And I got to tell you, they were cool, but they were loud.
Oh, they're very loud.
Really, really loud. Like so much louder than I was expecting.
And that's one thing with all these post-punk bands. They're loud.
Yeah, and very, very much guitar driven.
Oh yeah.
You know, people want to put them into that like late 70s, early 80s synth spot, but very, very guitar driven.
Oh yeah, this band was all guitar.
And I've always loved the cover of this.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
The black and white cover is splendid.
Now, where's this from?
Second time around.
Oh, so you got this from Tony's store.
Yeah.
So how long ago? Like
In the 80s.
in the 80s? That's
in
cool.
the early 80s, yeah.
Killing Joke is great. I feel like they're an overlooked band from this era. Metallica has done a song of theirs, and so they don't get the attention that they probably deserve.
Yeah, they're one of those bands that never really got as big as some of the other bands from the era.
Yeah. Okay, so Killing Joke, number 5.
And number 4, Echo and the Bunnymen.
And we've talked about them before. We've talked about Ocean Rain before.
Yeah, Echo and the Bunnymen, I mean, led by Ian McCullough and Will Sargent. They just have a certain soundscape.
I mean, it's like ethereal, kind of almost in some spots sort of calls back to Brian Eno's type stuff.
Yes.
There's a lot going on there with these guys.
Yeah, I've heard them called neo-psychedelic.
I like that.
And of course, new wave.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what a lot of the post-punk bands became.
Right.
When that label was able to, the more poppy ones became new wave bands.
Right. Right. And the ones that weren't as poppy kind of went to that post-punk label, which even then people didn't know what it meant.
Yeah. And their big years active, they did reform, but their big years active were 78 to 83.
Okay, cool. And yeah, we've talked about this album before, and you've got them in the ship there, and then the ocean shot there too. So, okay, so Echo and the Bunnymen, number 4. Who's number 3?
Number 3, my buddy Siouxsie. Siouxsie and the Banshees. And I think really more than anything, they identify post-punk. I mean, because you're like, where do they fit?
Yeah.
That's a great way to fit them in. I don't think you would fit them. It's funny. A lot of times post-punk and goth stuff gets combined. Mm-hmm. They're kind of dark.
Yeah,
a lot of post-punk stuff had a dark, brooding manner, but it wasn't gothic.
Right. And that's another label that who knows what it means. But
I mean, that's where this genre gets very muddy.
Right, right. And another thing to note is Robert Smith from The Cure played guitar on some of their big stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and then he became another, The Cure became a very legendary post-punk band as well.
Yeah, like one of the legendary ones.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, okay, Siouxsie and the Banshees, number 3.
Number 2, I can't leave them out.
No.
Public Image Limited.
Mr. Lydon.
Mr. Lydon.
And so he falls into our punk list. And then with Public Image Limited falls into our post-punk list.
Yeah, which, I mean, once again, Public Image Limited gets it's avant funk, experimental rock. It's different.
Right.
But when the Sex Pistols went kaput, Johnny still wanted to do stuff, so he did.
And you got to respect that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sex Pistols had one album.
Yeah. They broke up in 78.
Yeah. And you got to respect that. Now he is a polarizing figure in this. I mean, he took that punk ethos through his whole career and still has it if you see interviews with him. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was recruited to start a new band.
Right. Yeah.
Because when the Sex Pistols were done, the record company saw him as the savior.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good one. I've always loved the cover of this too.
Yeah.
And then you have him probably arguing with himself on the back.
well, sure. What else would he do?
So, if Mr. Lydon and PIL are number 2, who is our number 1 post-punk band? And I know who it is.
Yes. Joy Division. And, it's funny. Really, Joy Division the members of Joy Division have 2 post-punk bands.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Joy Division and then New Order. Mm-hmm. And I would actually say New Order is part of maybe the next wave of post-punk bands.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, admittedly, they're one of your big big bands.
They're one of my favorite bands ever.
That's cool. And I've always loved the cover of this too. And then on the back, it just says Joy Division.
Yeah, and they formed because they went to a Sex Pistols concert together.
And so many bands that we know of today have said that.
Yeah.
I mean, Sting was a huge Sex Pistols fan. The list goes on and on and on. And so many of the people that saw that band when they did went on to form bands that we know now.
Yeah, and Siouxsie is another one. She was a groupie.
Yeah. Siouxsie the groupie.
Yeah.
So what is it about Joy Division that you think sets them apart from the rest of these bands? Opinion-wise.
Opinion-wise, it's just the music. There's something about the music that just grabs you more than the other bands.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, there doesn't have to be a reason for it or an explanation.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just put it on and I was like, wow.
And you hear it.
And you hear it.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I figured, I kind of let Wheels take the wheel here.
Yeah.
And I figured, I didn't ask him who was where, but I figured this is where we'd end up at number one. And it's always fun to do this. I mean, there's a million ways to skin a cat, a million ways to do top fives or lists. We just like to break stuff down. We like to take the greater glut of things and break them down for you guys and for our own selves, because in doing these top fives, we talk about a lot of stuff that we don't normally talk about. But one thing I want to talk to you guys about is our YouTube channel. All the cool stuff we have there just waiting to be watched and listened to for you guys. Now, when you go there, we have a couple of things that we're going to ask you to do. And what are those things, John?
Like, subscribe, share, and comment.
Comment. We love the comments. And some of the best comments we get are from the ranked shows that we do. So please comment. Tell us what you think about these post-punk bands, other ones we left off. Tell us if you think that we've defined something wrong or done something wrong. Any comment gets a conversation going, and that's what we want you to do. But most of all, we want you guys to enjoy your music. So for Wheels, for Joy Division, I'm Jay, and we'll see you all the next time around.